Sunday night live stream show. Hopefully everybody's ready for a good show. A little bit of a different vibe tonight. No Josh, so we'll see how this goes. But no Josh, we do have someone else. What's up, Frank?
What's up, Dylan?
We are on and ready for our Sunday night live stream show. It is Sunday night, July 23rd, and we are getting started here for another episode of the Sunday night live stream show, Off the Hook with Captain Hubbard and Captain Frank tonight, and we are going to be talking all things inshore, nearshore, and offshore fishing, answering your questions live, giving away free stuff, and hopefully not messing this up too badly without our buddy Josh in studio. So we'll see how this goes. It's been a while since you and I have rocked this solo without Josh in the room.
It has been a while. We're ready. We can do this.
Yeah, we'll fake it till we make it, guys. So thanks for tuning in, and thanks for joining us and hanging out with us tonight. Want to give a shout-out to our friends over there at Gator Jim's Tackle, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. If you haven't checked out our friends at Gator Jim's, make sure you do so. Really great people over there, killer deals, awesome shop, great selection. Packed to the gills with deals. You don't want to miss out. Stop by, tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you, and you'll get a free gift. It's really, really cool, and it's a great stopping point to get you ready for our trips. Also want to give a shout-out to all those sending stars tonight. We got started with the bang. James McCullum, appreciate those 500 stars. Larry White, Keith White, Richard Bedwell with 500, Larry White with 500, Jim Evans, what's up, buddy? Craig Robinson, LaShonda, Stephen Batchelor, Todd Stutzman, Anthony Barnes, Sam Lang with the big 490, D Beers on the lead tonight with 2,000. Thank you, D. Craig Robinson, Terry Feather, Richard Blazak. Hopefully everybody is doing well. Appreciate those sending stars. Huge way to support, show your support, and help us to fuel the show. And of course our friends over there at Gator Jim's Tackle. And then finally want to give a big shout out to all of our supporters in our supporters group, really making the show possible and helping to fuel our live stream show. Remember, you can become a supporter tonight right at the top of our Facebook page. You can click that little big button and become a supporter. It's only $4.99 a month, and that's going to give you private access to our private supporters group, a little bit more behind-the-scenes information. It's a really cool way to stay connected and get a little bit more behind-the-scenes stuff. So check it out. Think about becoming a supporter tonight. And then also, who wants to win some free stuff? We're giving away a lot of free stuff tonight, right?
If it's as much as it was last time, then yeah.
If it's free, it's for me. That's my motto. We're giving away that 5-hour half day for 2 guests, 10-hour all day for 2 guests, the 39-hour for 1, and that Hubbard's Marina swag pack. So if you want a chance to win some of that free stuff tonight, all you have to do is comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. So comment one time, anything you want, say hello, drop where you're watching from, anything at all. Comment once, you're entered to win on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. We're streaming to multiple Facebook pages. You can watch on YouTube, you can watch on Trovo, you can watch on Twitch, you can watch on TikTok. Anywhere you want, you can watch the show, but you do have to comment at least once on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be eligible to win. Then watch live. You must be watching live the whole show, because if you're picked as one of the lucky winners, you have to comment or you have to text us at the phone number below on the screen. Text us at that phone number your full home address within 5 minutes to prove you're watching live. That's how you are entered for a chance to win, and how you claim your free winning.
I'm hoping to win a 10-hour fishing trip.
It's a pretty sweet trip
with you guys. Yeah,
it's a pretty sweet trip. Tuesday, Thursdays.
It's pretty good.
Is that your preference?
Pretty much.
All right, so we obviously are going to be talking some nearshore fishing with our good buddy Captain Frank, but also answering your questions during the show too. So sit back, relax. Same thing as always. We're going to show you guys the photos of what we've been catching. Talk a little bit about what's going on now, what's coming up. We're going to talk about the weather quickly. Then we're going to get into your questions. All right, so hopefully you're ready for a great show. Let's get it kicked off right and get right into our photos. We're going to start inshore, and then we're going to work our way near shore and offshore. So let's see if we can make this work. Kind of holding my breath here. Look at that.
I thought that was a permit with some bad lipstick.
Isn't it looking funny with that little soft plastic? It does look kind of funny. And it's crazy. Most pompano aren't caught on that soft plastics.
I said permit.
Pompano, permit, whatever. But beautiful fish regardless. A lot of pompano out on the beaches right now. Not a lot, but a handful of pompano out on the beaches right now. They're catching a few from around the jetty. Redfish bite going real well in the back protected bay waters. Early morning, just after sunrise, right before sunset is best. During the day, you have to get up in those trees. They're hanging out in the shade back into the mangrove trees during the day, trying to find some reprieve from the heat, or hanging out in those deeper channels, deeper edges. At night, around bridge lights and dock lights are really a good opportunity to find these fish too. They're much more active at night, finding a little reprieve from the heat once again. We're seeing a lot of those snook around the pass. The pass is choked up with the snook, especially in the early morning. Seeing a lot of those snook throughout the day. You're finding them up underneath the shade of the docks. Just like the redfish are hanging out in the trees in the back bay, the snook are up underneath the docks and the passes during the day. Some nice snook at night around the pass too. Our good buddy Capt Mike Anderson and some young anglers out there crushing some snook during the charters this past week. We're seeing a lot of snook and redfish from our friends over at Salt Strong. The bite is going really, really well from around the area. Big fish are after those big dead baits. Whether it's a snook or a redfish, big dead baits, cut ladyfish, cut mullet, cut pinfish, cut thread fins, hanging out on the bottom. They're lazy, they're tired, they're hot, and those dead baits chilling on the bottom make it easy for these fish. Our friend Scott Sadorf and his family's been fishing out there quite a bit, out on the beaches, catching the snook, around the docks, catching the mangroves. The mangrove bite's hot. We're seeing some of the flounder around the passes and those sandy edges, and then, of course, plenty of trout, too. Trout mostly around bridge lights and dock lights at night, those edges of the flats, and then we're seeing them a lot around the bridge at night and in the early morning as well. Some out on the beach, too. So some good options all the way around inshore. If you're fishing John's Pass, really the best thing right now is mangrove snapper. They're thick around the pass.
I've seen quite a few. That's pretty much the last 5 fish I've seen caught off the dock were for mangoes.
They're super thick. There's a few sheep's head around, and then if you get out there at the right time, you have a chance for the snook. But it's a very narrow window. You gotta catch them at the right time for sure. It's all about the salooner, major, and minors for those snook, especially around John's Pass, it seems like. So we'll work our way near shore and offshore to show you guys what we're seeing near shore and offshore. Our good buddy Luke Simons, like diamonds, from Salt Strong, showing off some nice cobia from the near shore fishing. Our good friends over at Salt Strong catching some nice gray snapper with us on the 5-hour half day. Some beautiful good eats, the tacos, the taco fish. A lot of the hogfish around. I wouldn't say a lot, but a handful of hogfish around.
Yeah, we're getting some. I'm thinking I'm going to start targeting them here, starting on the next all day.
Try it out, see how it goes.
Yeah.
So the hogfish are around. They're just a little bit fewer and farther between. The lanes are really what we're seeing the most of, I would say, near shore. Kind of been the target, right?
Yeah, lanes and lots of vermilions as well. And the target, of course, was with red groupers as well. We've been doing pretty well on them. But unfortunately, they closed that, so we're just trying to,
switching it up.
So, we'll switch them up for, we'll start at least working on some hogfish. And I did find a little area that had quite a few of them last week.
Yeah.
We went a couple trips where we caught at least a dozen of them, and we're going to start more focusing on that on the all day. At least, we're going to give it a shot.
Yeah. Yeah, when it's rough, we can't get out there quite as far. The hogfish is a nice little option closer to shore. When it's calm and it's hot, pushing out a little deeper, fishing those lanes, those mangroves, those vermilions, and you have a chance for the skin.
Yeah, we'll probably, if you're thinking about going on an all-day trip, Tuesday or Thursdays, with me at least, we'll probably, at least this week, I'm going to start with the hogfish in the morning. And if we get them, great. We'll keep fishing for them. If not, well, then we'll push out further, and we'll get more of the lanes and vermilions. We'll stay in close a little bit for the hogfish. We'll see some of the gray snappers and a few lanes. And if that doesn't work out, then we'll shoot out to 80 foot, and we'll most likely get a bunch of lanes and vermilions. and some potential throwback groupers. But, we have caught a few hogfish as well in that deeper water. But we've also been seeing some mangoes. So it's kind of, it's a trade-off. There's that fine line, Yeah, you can get some mangoes in 40, 50 feet. You can. But, and even more so, we're seeing more yellowtails now than I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I've ever seen fishing out here, in close. Of course, offshore, we get them all, all the time when you're in deep water. But we're seeing them on half days. Like where we're going, I think my last 3 or 4 trips we've had not just a keeper or two, but throwback ones as well. I've had as many as a dozen, and that's unheard of in 40 feet of water. Maybe
that's crazy.
They're coming up here for they're used to the heat down in the Keys, and they're working their way up. I don't know. And muttons as well. Sorry to but we've been seeing mutton snappers as well, and I've gotten 3 of them that were just a hair short.
And we're seeing blackfin snapper, schoolmasters, and dog snapper. All 3 of those, we're not seeing a ton of them, but we're seeing a few here and there, way more than we've seen ever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why.
Most people have to look up what a schoolmaster is. The fish ID posts go crazy on the schoolmasters, the dog snapper, even a blackfin snapper. I walked into Don's dock and they were doing an offload. I was like, what? What? I had to triple take before I realized, that's a blackfin snapper, because they look like a silky and a red snapper kind of mixed. Okay. And then they have a kind of different tail.
I've never seen one.
It's they're unique looking. We have them at Don's dock quite a bit because they're a little deeper. We see them on the 39 and the 12-hour extreme occasionally, but now we're seeing them more frequently. And even golden tiles, we've been seeing some more of those out there deep. Nothing big, but pretty crazy. Yeah, definitely a shifting of the species.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I'm happy to see them. I mean, who knows?
I think a lot of people are asking why. Yeah, and trying to figure that out.
Maybe we'll see, in another year or maybe 5 years, we might be seeing lots of them. It's just it happened just like the hogfish and red snapper.
Yeah,
they weren't here, and then all of a sudden they're here.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. And the hogfish, I think, has a lot more to do with just shifting in technique. Because I remember when I was fishing with Captain Matt when I was 8, 9, 10, 12 years old. If you use less than 60-pound test, they would come up and Matt would just cut your line. He was livid with me when I ever fished light tackle.
Yeah, because he didn't want you to break off.
Yeah, it was 60-pound was minimal. 60-pound was light tackle. Really, most of the time you're fishing 80, even 100-pound. Even in 60 foot of water, we were fishing 80-pound tests when I was a kid. And this was, 15, 20 years ago. This wasn't that long ago. And then when we started getting into some of those closures, gags went from I think when I started fishing, again, 8, 9 years old, fishing on those 39 hours, we were allowed 8 grouper or 10 grouper a day.
I remember
20 on a 39-hour trip.
Yeah.
And a good 39-hour trip, you'd have 20 gags per person.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So it definitely was a different era, a different time, and we used a lot heavier tackle. Yeah. But then as regulations started to increase, what I've experienced is what's called effort shifting. And basically as this species close or this species gets more regulations, efforts shift to another species. And what we've seen over time is just these fish get more pressure. There's more hooks in the water. Absolutely. There's more people fishing. So we have to lighten up tackle. Like when Josh Foster, you remember him? Josh Foster, he's one of our general managers of the Marina office. He fished a lot. Very fishy cat. Yeah. He really popularized, in my opinion, or at least in my memory, using 40-pound tests more frequently. Like Craig, he was one of our offshore regulars. He would fish 40-pound fluorocarbon. He was the first one. He had all fluorocarbon in his spool when it came out. He thought it was the new latest and greatest. And he was fishing 40 pounds, which was something we didn't do. 40-pound test in your spool? Are you crazy? It's way too light. Yeah. But that's what the shift was. And then we started seeing it in the last 12 years. People using 20-pound tests and a spinning rod, and then they're catching hogfish hook and line, which we've previously thought you could only shoot hogfish.
Right. That's true.
Crazy.
That's true. I hear what you're saying for sure on that. And definitely, there's been some serious pressure on the hogfish now.
Huge.
That's been the thing to get, mainly because those ledges aren't stacked with the gags like they, again, not sure why, but I think I saw more last year than I've seen in a while. Same with the mangrove snappers too. I've seen more of those than I have seen in a while. I think you know, because of the shift that goes on to the hogfish, you know, maybe the shift is coming. You know, so
it's one of those things, man. I think everybody's grappling with those questions, and I feel we're in a little bit of danger for those hogfish because, like, come second half of November, all of December, it's really the only thing going. You're going to have closed gags. You're not going to have red groupers. So near shore, if you're not going 100 miles, you're going to be basically targeting those hogfish. So it's definitely a concern.
Mean, it's, you know,
we're gonna catch a bunch of them, but it's definitely a concern for the long-term health of the fishery. Because those hogfish, the thing about hogfish is they don't sustain catch and release well. If you don't know what you're doing, you don't get them up quick, off the hook quick, and sometimes you have to vent a hogfish in 50 foot of water. It's crazy.
They're very the barotrauma definitely affects them.
And the way their anatomy is, they eat crustaceans and shells, so they actually have crushers and teeth all the way back into their throat. So the concern is when their stomachs invert and start to poke out of their stomach, it can cause damage to their stomach lining, even if you properly vent them and get them back in the water quickly. So there's a higher discard mortality rate with hogfish. And as they increase the bag limits or increase the size limit, minimum size limit, you get more that you have to measure and throw back, right?
Yeah, and it takes longer time. And, of course, everyone wants a photo with a hogfish.
Yeah.
And it's the worst thing you can do. And I hate telling people that. But I've gotten to the point where I've started telling them on the trip where, you know, if we catch a hogfish, guys, you know, the best case scenario is that we take them off the hook and get them right back in the water as quickly as possible. And if you catch something that's, you know, close to a keeper, you know, get your camera ready, you know, that kind of deal. On the half day, of course.
You got 45 seconds.
Yeah, pretty much. You got to be rocking ready to go because even 45 seconds is a matter of life and death with that, because a minute and a half it's over. Like, so that's like half of, you know, I don't, you know, I would much rather see that come over the rail. Hey, look, beautiful fish, take it off and get it right back in the water. And I've noticed when they come up over that rail and you swing that hook right out and drop them in the water, they go down every single time. You don't need a venom. Even if they're a little puffed up, they go right down every single time. But it's that 10 seconds that somebody says, I want to take a photo, and it's just over. Yeah. And it's like you're killing that fish for no reason. You know, not every time, but, you know, it's
for every second at zero. So every second at zero, meaning at the surface. For every second at zero, it's exponential increase in barotrauma impacts to the species.
For sure.
At any fish, but with a fish like a hogfish that's more susceptible, for every second that it's at the surface, the greater the exponential chance that fish is going to float away.
For sure.
Or have barotrauma
Yeah, there's some
impact.
fish that, you know, they just don't care. They can be, you know, they just go right down every time. You know, like triggerfish and things like that. They're just not.
Unless you get really deep, those triggerfish just implode.
Is that right?
Oh, it's crazy. Oh. They have such a tough skin and tough body. Yeah. When you catch a triggerfish in like 180 foot and reel it up, it's bad.
We got a triggerfish on our last 10 hour. That was the biggest one that we've ever caught on a 10 hour, and it was like painful throwing this thing back. It was like a trash can lid, man. It was just an absolute jump. I've never had one of my mates have I asked them ever to say, hey, can you take a picture of me with this triggerfish? It was that big.
Wow.
It was like, man, this thing hurts to throw back.
I must have missed that photo.
Oh. Well, that'll be on next week, probably. Next week, yeah. I did get a photo. I'll get it to you. It just happened. Happened.
Okay.
It was Saturday. My 10 hour trip. Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's yesterday.
It'll come
Everything
soon.
runs together this time of year. You know
I get
it's
it.
nonstop.
Dude, all day Thursday, I thought it was Friday. All day Friday, I thought it was Thursday. And then Saturday came, I thought it was Sunday.
Saturday morning, I said to my wife, I was like, is it trash day? It couldn't have been the furthest day. It's Mondays and Thursdays. And I'm like, it's Saturday. I'm like, yeah, I couldn't even say I was a day off or nothing. It was the furthest I could have been. Anyhow.
Yeah, it definitely all runs together.
Yeah.
Ashley Pettit with the 300 stars. Thank you so much. Craig Robinson, Phil Battisto, Stephen Batchelor, Scott Flynn. Appreciate those stars, y'all. And we are going to get into your questions next. We talked a little bit about what we are catching and what's going on now, and kind of got off on a rabbit trail a little bit, but good conversation. We got more coming, but we want to make sure we talk to you guys a little bit about the weather. So we're going to pop on over to the Hubbard's Marina website page. We're going to click fishing trips. We're going to scroll down to the weather links page. We're going to start out here on the 5 and 10 hour forecast area, and the weather keeps pumping up for tomorrow.
Looks hot though.
Yeah. So definitely a little breezy and bumpy today, and that's kind of what exactly we experienced. The half-day trip saw some bumpy weather. The 10-hour got a little beat up today, and the Hub charters battled it and ended up having to cancel the afternoon today because of that weather. We had to cancel our extreme trip today. Our 39-hour trip, I'm going to see if I'm going to go back to full screen so I can pull this up. Frank, this would impress you as well. We were honestly at 2 o'clock concerned about if we could send the 39-hour or not. Like, everybody was showing up, checking in, and I'm like, this is not what they forecasted. This is getting bad. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And then finally it started to relent a little bit. So let me see if I can pull this.
Ridiculously dissipated.
Oh, ridiculously.
Yeah, I saw it. It was coming at. I had some plans today to put a lift on my truck, and I was looking. I was like, "Can this be done?" And then I was like, "What is happening? It's just all dissipating. It just like stopped.
Yeah,
it started heading north, and then just all the reds and yellows are starting."
So let's see. We can pull this up. So it is. Oh, it's not going to let us go all the way back. I thought
that's a nice sprinkle.
I thought this let me go further back than that. Oh, it does. No. Dang it.
Well,
so I thought we would be able to see the full, because if you go all the way back to like 11 a.m., 10, 11 a.m., it was ugly.
It was.
But this is only going back to 6 p.m., so that kind of doesn't help us. But it was pretty crazy what it looked like.
I sent a few texts to Bobby while he was out there. I was like, "Hey man, you're gonna. I know that what you're seeing right now is this giant wall of black coming at you." Because I was just sitting at the house, I was like, but rest assured, it's all stopping, and you're going to make it in without. I don't even know if he got the text. I just did it out of the kindness of my heart, but I was like, it's all good, man. You're really in good shape. And somehow it's just holding off out there.
We had the protection today, thankfully. So long story short, we were a little concerned about 2 o'clock whether we were going to get our 39-hour out, which was a little hairy to say the least. But luckily it started breaking up in the Gulf, and they were able to punch out there through it, and the 39-hour is out there, and hopefully catching a bunch of fish right there in that disturbance. Barometer's going to be moving. They're going to fish a little shallower, trying to escape that current that we've been having problems with. For those of you concerned or interested in our long-range fishing trips, last week their Tuesday trip and Friday trip, that was, let me pull up the calendar here. So this was like Tuesday the 11th and Friday the 14th. We had some really, really tough current. So not this past Friday, the Friday before, we had really, really tough current. Then the Sunday, the July 16th trip, and Tuesday, the July 18th trip, the current died down for us, and fishing was actually really, really good. July 18th's 39-hour probably did better than almost any of them. But then we got into this Friday trip, the one that came home today. They ran into the current again. Like, the current went right back up, unfortunately. So a little bit frustrating, but this trip that left today, their plan is to fish a little shallower, escape that current, and that disturbance that came through should shake things up a little bit, get that barometer moving, and I'm confident they're going to hopefully bring back a big load of fish. But let's get back into the weather here and finish our weather explanation. So, little bumpy tomorrow, not bad, but a little bumpy tomorrow, and then it looks gorgeous Tuesday and Wednesday. We got some room left on our 12-hour extreme trips Tuesday and Wednesday as well. Beautiful weather. It's going to be hot hot, but it is looking real nice there. Thursday, even Friday, Saturday. So a little bit of a rain chance as we get into the weekend, but really nice moderate seas and moderate weather for our inshore report. Let's work our way offshore, jump out there a little deeper and see what's going on. Look at that dark purple all the way across. Really, really nice. So looks good offshore. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Looking real nice out there.
I like those clouds in that one raindrop.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah,
like
a little bit of rain.
When it's clouds all the way across,
yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, and the clouds all the way across showing a little bit of overcast condition, which is nice this time of year. It can be too hot this time of year. So you can see this big thing up here. That's the storms that we're facing. And that's what's causing, I believe this is the right buoy. Make sure. Yes, so that's what's causing this little bit of a increase. This is our 106 nautical mile buoy. This is north of the middle grounds, and this is showing some really nasty weather for tomorrow because of that storm. So tomorrow is going to be very similar to today, and the fact that we're going to wake up and there's going to be a lot of storms and energy in the Gulf to our northwest, and it's going to slowly move down towards our area through the day. So very similar weather tomorrow than it was today for those who look offshore.
If you're joining us now, this is 100 miles out.
Yes,
okay?
106 nautical miles to our northwest. So I apologize. that was rude. Very far out there. So nothing to do. Like I said, this is the one that you want to really focus on for our 5 and 10 hour forecast area. Beautiful through the week. So looking forward to that. Let's pop on over to the Mike's weather page to get our look at our prog charts. We got this little guy down here. We'll take a peek at that as well. But prog charts, let's see what's going on there. So here's today. So today's weather, we got that occluded front. That's what's shooting all the showers down at us. And tomorrow is going to be very similar to today. Low pressure developing. That's kind of interesting. That's going to be shooting that weather at us tomorrow. And you'll notice tomorrow that low pressure and that high pressure creating that pressure ridge. So that little blue H above Captain Frank's head and that low pressure line, those frontal boundaries are going to fight each other, and that's what's going to cause that little increase, especially up closer to like the northwest of us where that buoy was showing rougher conditions tomorrow specifically. Let's go back over to Mike's weather page. Where'd it go? I think I must have clicked out of it. See, this is why we need Josh. Clicking too many buttons too quickly. All right, so.
See, the trick, what I like about this weather page, and this is just a joke.
Yeah.
But is if you're trying to get somebody to go out fishing with you and they're like, it looks like it's going to be too rough, you can find somewhere on here to click where it just looks a little bit better than the other one. I think that's what he uses.
You figured that out about me?
I think that's what he does. He's got
many
weather
when
links,
Frank,
and he's like, look, I know this site says it's bad, but look at this one. Look at this one. Man, this guy's always right.
I don't do that. I don't do that.
Yeah, biting my tongue. Yeah.
You're live on Facebook right now, bud.
Yeah.
So long story short, long story short, as we move into Tuesday, Wednesday, we see more of that high pressure settling in. So that's in that low pressure, that pressure ridge breaks up to the northwest of us. So that's what's going to start making it a little bit nicer. And that little trough right there, where is it? Right here. That little trough coming in Thursday is what's going to increase our rain chances. But then it looks nice for the weekend.
Did I see it was going to be 84?
Was that? It was probably offshore.
Oh, okay.
Let's pop back over to.
I think we have a
7-day outlook in here
83.
somewhere.
I'm like, there's no way. I don't like that.
7-day forecast. There it is. So yeah. Where'd you see 84?
It must have been the offshore.
Yeah, it's probably the buoys. On the water is cooler.
Yeah.
It's always a little cooler on the water.
Absolutely.
Not along the coast. The other day when we were doing the Fox 13 thing, Dave Osterberg was going through the different cameras, and the temperature of the surf at Clearwater Beach was 92.6 degrees.
Yeah, that's not
real comfortable.
Yeah, that's not comfortable.
Yeah, Saturday we went to my in-laws' house, my wife's parents' house, to swim with the kids, and Jack is jumping in the pool. We all get in the pool, and it's literally warm. It's like a lukewarm hot tub that's not quite hot enough and doesn't have the bubbles going. That's how the pool felt.
You can't even tell you're peeing.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
It was
you can
brutal.
pee right next to your wife, and she would never know is what he's saying.
Exactly. Okay. You're safe. That's exactly what I said, and that's what I intended by that whole story.
Sure.
All right, so we are going to get into your questions here in just a minute. Michael, Jimmy, what's going on, Jimmy family? Appreciate those 1,000 stars, y'all. Brian Eakins, appreciate you, my friend. Let's see, Ashley Pettit with 300 stars. Thank you. It is time to give away our first free trips of the night. Let's see here. Oh, it's giving us problems, of course. Let's see if we can make this work here. We are going to give away our first free trip of the night, one way or another.
One way or another, even if I have to pick out my name out of the hat myself.
Let's see if
I've checked in already, so I'm ready.
You checked in?
I'm ready.
You got it. You got it worked out.
That's right.
Let's see if this button works now. 10 hour all day. So on the 10 hour all day, this Tuesday, weather's looking good. You're going to start deeper, you said?
No, I'm going to start with some hogfish.
Okay.
That's
You're going to start a little shallower?
Because now the red groupers are gone. They're, I haven't had a trip yet without them. So now this is my next trip is going to be to try to target some hogfish. And I've got a pretty good plan. And, we've been doing, pretty well on the mangroves as well. And we've been using more thread fins than we normally have been using lately because of the mangrove snappers. So,
Okay.
But they, of course, like the shrimp as well. So when we do go out there for the hogfish, it's always a good idea to get that 5 dozen. I know that they sell the $2 and $5 or 2 dozen and 5 dozen buckets. Maybe if you're coming out with me on the first one, try 5 dozen because we're going to give it a good hard push for those hogfish on Tuesday and Thursday of this week. I don't want to just limit it to one day, just because you can't say that we're getting them now just because one day, or we're not getting them just because of one day. So we're gonna try it Tuesday and Thursday. And if we're not winning by 1 o'clock, 12:30, then we'll head out some deeper water and sling in some lanes and vermilions and whatever else.
All right. So we're gonna try it. We're gonna start.
We're gonna try it.
And I think we fixed it. So let's go ahead and try to give away our first free trip of the night. We're going to do, let's do our 10-hour all day for 2 guests first.
While we're talking about it, might as well.
Might as well. So let's see who won the 10-hour all day trip for 2 guests. Remember, you got 5 minutes or less to claim that free trip. You got to text us your full home address. Donald VC, our good buddy over there in Brandon, in our Regulars Club and Supporters Club. Lucky winner tonight, Donald VC. Remember, you got to text us your full home address, buddy, in order to claim that free trip within 5 minutes to prove you're watching live. So our good friend Don, that's awesome. All right, so we still got our 5-hour half day for 2 to give away, our Hubbard's Marina swag pack, and that 39-hour trip for 1. Don't forget, we have some events coming up this Friday. This Friday coming up is Final Friday. Free crawfish boil, free beer, free good times. We've got live music, big concert, a pub crawl, and all the fundraising donations are going to go to support the businesses affected by the fire inside Johns Pass. That was pretty crazy, man.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Super sad.
Did you guys talk about that last week?
No, not yet.
Or something?
No.
Some people might not know about the fire in Johns Pass.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
And then I want to hear about this. What's the swag pack?
The swag pack?
New. That's new. I don't know what the swag pack is.
So if you win the swag pack, it's like a Hubbard's Marina t-shirt. It's an off-the-hook t-shirt for our live show. Hubbard's Marina hat. Then there's like some stickers, some other stuff that we throw in there.
Maybe I could get one of those and try it on.
Little swag pack.
See if you got it in a schmedium.
Schmedium? I don't know if we have schmedium. We'll have to check. We'll have to double check that. But we definitely have some swag packs laying around. Right. So I'll show you what I mean tomorrow.
Right, well, at least the people know that are just just started watching.
Hubbard's Marina swag pack.
Now I know, they know.
There you go. So let's get into some questions here and see what you guys want to talk about. We'll log into our handy dandy question getter and see what you guys want to talk about tonight. But again, final Friday, this coming Friday, July 28th from 6 to 9 p.m. And then also August 27th at 2 p.m. is our next Bass Pro Shops event. So August 27th at 2 p.m. Don't miss out on that. So first question, do you guys clean fish for people? I know, Frank, you're not the fastest at it, but
no, I'm not really that good at it.
No. We do offer a fish cleaning service.
Right. We don't scale, though.
We don't.
We don't scale fish. We will fillet your fish for you and happily do that at the end of every trip.
We fillet fish and scale fish if you want to, but you have to wait in line. And if you're going to scale fish, you gotta be last in line. We will scale your fish, but you got to be last in line. Fair enough?
Sure.
We will fillet your fish after the trips, and we also have fish filleting down at Don's Dock as well. They fillet fish 24/7 down at Don's Dock.
They scale down there as well.
They do. They scale, they steak.
Down there and
they do it all down at Don's Dock.
Got you down there. I got your backs on the scale and cheap too.
How do you win a free trip? You win a free trip by commenting on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be eligible to win. All right, I want to know what it's like on the 12. We have the 12-hour night trip. We have the 12-hour extreme trip, kind of two very different trips. The 12-hour night trip's a great way to get out there and get those mangrove snapper, get that night fishing experience if you don't have the time for a 39-hour trip. The 12-hour night trip's a great way to experience that nighttime mangrove snapper.
Bobby's
fishing.
doing pretty well on those mangrove snappers lanes. And
yeah.
I saw a couple of red snappers come up on the come off the boat on the last one. So
you never know. You never know. And the 12-hour extreme, that's really what we're targeting. The red snapper, the scamp grouper, the big mangroves, the deep waters. You might get some yellowtails. You never know.
What's it like on there though? What do you got to bring your own food.
On the 12-hour extreme, there's no galley, so there's no air conditioning cabin.
About,
yeah,
right?
and that's why we call it an extreme trip.
Right.
You don't have the amenities of the party boat.
Right. No amenities. However, there is a bathroom on board, and you got to bring your own tackle. Bait's provided. Shy of the the frozen bait, the thread fins and the squid. Is provided.
And then
anything else is.
And it's just like the 10-hour, and the fact that you can bring your own rod and reel and all your own tackle. You can rent a rod and reel, and we'll supply you tackle. But it's very similar to the 10-hour as far as like tackle and live bait and dead bait is concerned. The difference with the 12-hour extreme is you don't have an air-conditioned cabin. You don't have a place to escape. You don't have the galley with the hot food, the cold drinks. You got to kind of come prepared, and you're going to be in the elements. So a little hotter, little warmer.
This is a good idea to at least get a 10-hour trip done on even the big boat, just so you can make sure that you're not prone to seasickness, things like that. And then once you do that, and you're if you like being in 100 degrees, but they're catching big fish. That's the exchange for it. They go out there 80 miles. And if you didn't know that, they're going out 80 miles and they're blasting some big fish, and they're throwing back lots of big gags as well. You can take a great photo with. I mean, that's what it's all about, in my opinion. I know a lot of people want to take their fish home, and that's great. Of course, eat the grouper. They're wonderful, but you get that photo is what you're going to have for the rest of your life.
Yeah, And the 12-hour extreme is unique in the fact that like a 10-hour all day, you're fishing 15 to 25 miles from shore for about 6 to 7 hours of fishing time. Right. The 12-hour extreme, you're fishing every bit of about 7 hours, 70 to 100 miles out. So you're fishing easily about 4 and 5 times further for the same amount of time. It is considerably more expensive when compared to a 10-hour all day, but it's comparing apples to oranges, two very different experiences.
For sure. I see. It's, we come in a lot of times at the same time, my 10-hour trip, and they're like, oh, we should have gone on that. It's a whole different entity. You definitely want to be, knowledgeable about what you're getting yourself into. Yeah. They are going deep water. There are big fish out there.
There's only 16 people on the boat too, so less people, more one-on-one help. But you don't have the air conditioning, you don't have the cabin to escape into, you don't have the hot food, the cold drinks, and it's more of an extreme trip. You're out in the elements. Yeah. It's more of an advanced angler's trip.
Definitely advanced angler trip.
And it goes from $139 for a 10-hour all day to $399 for a 12-hour extreme trip. So considerably more expensive. You're fishing 4 times further, and it's about 4 times as much money.
It's serious business, and the captains we got running them are doing great. Yeah. They're catching a lot of nice big fish. So I mean,
it's a good time though.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
Great question, Cooper. Next question is, how does the seating work on the 5-hour trip? I'll let you take that one.
There is none. So there is plenty of seating on the boat. First of all, the inside seats about 48 people. There's 8 tables in there. You can fit 6 apiece. That's in the air conditioned. I go over that first because it's summertime, and that's where I would be. But a lot of the folks that are from out of town and they want to see everything and be a part of the the outdoor experience. Well, the sitting outside, it's just hot and. But for the most part, they're seating all the way around the edge of the boat, almost all the way around the boat. It has nothing to do with the spot number that you're fishing at. It's unassigned seating on a half day. You come up there with your pole, you find an empty rod holder. That is your spot where you're going to fish. The seating has nothing to do with where you're fishing. I've had a couple of people get upset and say, "Oh, that's my seat because of my pole's right." No, it doesn't work that way.
And even on the 10-hour all day, and I say this in the seminars now too, because we've gotten complaints about that in the past, is if you have spot 25 on a 10-hour all day or a 39-hour or a 44-hour, it doesn't matter. Your spot number is only for bottom fishing.
For fishing.
Doesn't apply to trolling. Right. It doesn't apply to sitting. You can sit anywhere, inside, outside, around the boat. And when you start fishing, that's when you're entitled to your fishing spot.
The smart people that are watching this show
would sit in the AC.
Would you just take your bags, go right in the AC, and get yourself a seat at the table? The one where I can tell the secrets because you're watching it, and we appreciate that. Go right where the air vents are blowing down.
Behind the wheelhouse door on the friendly, on the port side or left side.
That's the sneaker spot.
Yeah, not against the wall. That first table. But the one that's facing forward.
Port side, yeah.
Oh, yeah. During a captain and crew meeting, you got to show up early to get that spot.
That's right. That's where the fat kid sits.
That's where everybody tries to sit. Yeah, it's definitely a lot cooler up there. On the Florida, it's a little different. The Florida is going to have ACs on either side and midships. So a little different. Let's see here. I've been slow pitch jig fishing on the last couple 39-hour trips and doing very well. You mentioned the currents have picked up lately. How much is this going to affect my jigging on the August 1st 39-hour? It's technically a full moon. So it would affect your jig fishing quite significantly if the currents are bad. But that's the problem, is the currents have been very up and down lately. And it's definitely created a little bit of a challenge because, like I mentioned before, we had 2 trips where the current was really bad. Then we had 2 trips where the current wasn't bad at all. We were expecting the current not to be bad again. Went out there, it was bad. So it's been very up and down and kind of hard to track. So we'll have to kind of see what happens. Hurry up and wait.
Now, the current, and I'm just making sure that I know correctly. You've done so much research on everything that you do. But the current actually will shift.
Oh, very much so.
So it's not like you can pre-program what that current is going to be doing this month versus next month, this week, this lunar phase, waning crescent here, there. It's not like that. The current actually moves, and it's is there a way to tell? Is there a way to tell if the
No, not really well, because the problem is we don't always know where we're going to fish, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's creates a little bit of a challenge to be able to go look. And even us to a point don't know, because you could look before you leave and it could change. And it can change pretty drastically, pretty quickly. But you could see here it's changed a lot since last week when we looked at it. This Gulf the loop current comes into the Gulf, and it's actually broke up right now, which is kind of unique. Most of the time, this loop current is pretty continuous. But you can see here it's got a big loop eddy in the middle of the Gulf. It's got another loop eddy in the Western Gulf. And over here in the Eastern Gulf off of central West Florida, generally we don't deal with too much current. But you can see here that loop eddy comes off and kind of spins into Destin, Panama City Beach, and kind of continues down towards us a little bit. And this is where we're doing a lot of fishing right now. And that's probably where Brian was, a little bit deeper off this certain area that we frequent. And that's probably why he ran into current. This trip, we're going to be fishing a little bit out of that area. So I think we should be pretty safe from the current this trip. I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, and it just shifts. So
it shifts quickly.
You have to, if you're asking about the jigs and what size, you got to bring them all.
Yeah.
'Cause
Really,
you just don't know.
Yeah, for a 39-hour trip, if I was going to pack a jig bag for a 39-hour trip in our area, anywhere from 80 to 350 grams is a good idea. For me, I don't like jig fishing when it's much over 300 grams. But
100 degrees.
Yeah. Well, it's with slow pitch jigging, it's really not that bad because those rods are so light. It really makes it a lot easier on your shoulders and forearms and stuff. Like old school jig fishing, like when I was growing up with the meat sticks and the diamond jig.
You literally just
5
used
minutes.
your one hand as a pivot point, and you did it for a while. Then you took a break.
Yeah, 5 minutes is all you got. You hook one fish and you're like,
8-ounce
that was
diamond
fun.
jigs, ugly, big trebles, or a single,
Big long shank J's. Yeah.
Heavy.
Heavy. 16
ounces.
Hammered diamond jig was my favorite.
That was the hot thing for the jacks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you catch one and done.
That's right.
But definitely a little bit heavier jigs would be a good idea, and that's going to help you kind of overcome any bad current if we were to happen to run into it. So let's go ahead and give away another free trip before we get too much further down the road here. Let's see if I remember how to do this.
I feel like they'd rather have another 10 hours instead of a double half day.
Instead of another half day? Well, we got to give away our Hubbard swag pack now. So let's see who won the swag pack. Actually, I should probably write down the winners, shouldn't I? See, that's what Josh does when Josh isn't here. Yeah. Don VC won the 10-hour tonight. I remember that. Don. Oh my gosh, this is bad.
Yeah.
Let's just start a new list.
Glasses? Oh, I've got a sunglasses.
Don VC. All right, so let's see who won the Hubbard's Marina swag pack. Oh man, I miss you, Josh.
Do you think he's watching somewhere laughing at you?
Oh, 100%. 100%. He's
like, he tried calling Josh, but right before the show, he had an important question to ask him about this. He's like,
didn't answer.
Really?
He's like, he got this.
Yeah.
All right.
Watch what I can do.
All right. So we gave away the 10-hour. Let's do the Hubbard's Marina swag pack. Hubbard's Marina swag pack going to Carlonda Calvert Head, watching from Madeira Beach. She went fishing today. Well, you're going fishing again tomorrow, Carlonda.
That was a good deal.
Yeah, she
didn't even know she was getting buy one get one free today.
Yeah. Well, she won the swag pack.
The swag pack.
Swag pack. So stop by tomorrow. You get souvenirs. I said the same thing. I said you're going fishing again.
We both blew it.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Josh. Where are you, bud?
Loser.
Hopefully he is watching.
Yeah.
All right. So next question. Let's see what we got here. How do you feel about the season for fish that you're going after? What? How do you feel about the season for the fish that you're going after, and how long closing each fish you're targeting?
Unknown person.
All I know is to me, it's not a surprise at all. And I've mentioned this in past shows, and I'm just going to touch on it quickly. But like Frank was talking about earlier, and we were talking about earlier, the effort shift, and we're using lighter tackle and seeing more hogfish. When I was 8, 9, 10 years old, fishing and catching 10 gag grouper every day, or every trip on a 39-hour every day, so 20 in a 39-hour trip because we had that 2-day bag limit. Back then, on a 39-hour trip, you might see 1, 2, 3 other boats max the whole trip. And on a 10-hour trip, you might see a handful of boats maybe on a weekend. Dude, nowadays, you go out there on a Saturday, and it's boats as far as the eye can see. And on a 39-hour trip, 100 miles from shore during red snapper season on a weekend, you're going to see 24 boats on your radar screen. It's exponential growth in our fishery, and that's a good thing and a bad thing, right? It's a good thing for the fishery, for the industry, more people out in the water. There's no arguing. There's more people fishing. I saw a report from the ASA the other day. There was 54.9 million angler trips last year. 54.9 million angler trips. And 54.9 anglers, not angler trips. But that's countrywide. But still, that's up from 50 last time I saw that report. So literally almost 5 million more anglers in a very short amount of time. It's crazy. The economic
People just
impact.
want to go fishing.
Yeah, the economic impact is like $249 billion in the country for recreational fishing. So there is a ton of people out in the water now, and more and more every day. So it's not surprising to me that seasons shrink. Even if fisheries stayed at a static level and they stayed healthy and nothing changed in the environment, which things have changed a lot, but if nothing changed in the environment, more people out there on the water, the Gulf doesn't get bigger. The amount of fish the Gulf has doesn't get bigger. The environment's static. The pie is only so big. You can't make a bigger pie. The pie is only so big. So as more people go up to the buffet and take slices of that pie,
I like pie.
Pie's got to the slices got to get smaller, dog. Yeah. That's how you get that pie to go further.
That's right.
So, and it's not surprising to me that we see seasons constricting because there's more people on the water.
And even there's more the U.S. and other countries that are buying our fish.
Yeah.
Are requiring more fish. So the commercial guys are taking some as well. You know, they have to.
And the commercial quota has only shrunk over the years. The other fisheries have been shrinking to accommodate the growing recreational fishery. In the Gulf, the commercial sector and the federal for-hire sector have been under moratoriums. The federal for-hire sector has been under a moratorium for our permits since 1991, the year I was born. So there's not been a new federally permitted for-hire charter boat or party boat permit issued since the year I was born. The number has only fallen, and the same with commercial permits. They have been under a moratorium for even a little longer. So there's a finite number of commercial anglers and charter and party boat anglers in the Gulf of Mexico, and that's what allows better science because they have a really well-defined universe of anglers. No one with a straight face can give you definite numbers on the universe of private recreational fishermen. And that can be a big part of the challenge we face with knowing discard numbers, with knowing some really good quality data, quantifiable data. So it definitely causes problems. You don't feel commercial fishing. So a lot of people want to try to blame commercial fishermen. And I personally being involved in the program process and learning how it works really intricately, dude, the commercial fishermen go through it. They have to hail out prior to a trip. They have to tell the federal government where they're going, how long they're going, when they're coming back, and they have to land at an open access area to allow the federal government to come in and measure their fish and be held accountable for what they're bringing in. Every pound of fish, every ounce of fish is measured, weighed, coming off the boat. And it has to be checked by a dealer ticket. Before they come in, they have to do a 3-hour landing notification. So they have to tell the federal government at least 3 hours ahead of time that they're coming in with X amount of fish at X location. Then they come in and they have to sell their fish to a seafood dealer who then has to do a double report, a trip ticket based on what was caught. So every ounce of commercially caught fish is accounted for, and they know exactly how many anglers went out there, exactly how long they were out, exactly what they caught, and everything's verifiable. It's always measured, weighed, all that good stuff. And then it's double counted by the seafood dealer. So the almost entire data universe of fisheries-dependent stuff that goes into our system to give us the seasons and the science that we have is all from the commercial fleet. So people say, oh, it's the commercial fisherman's fault. Without the commercial fishermen, we wouldn't have the science we have today. We wouldn't have the access to the fishery we have today because the commercial fishermen started it. Think back to the 1920s. That was the only thing there was. Everybody was a commercial fisherman. We started out as commercial fishermen. My grandfather used to sell fish. That's why a white grunt is called a gray snapper, because my grandfather used to sell fish. Up until the early 80s, mid-80s, 88, they outlawed recreational fishermen selling fish on our charter boats and party boats. And that's when commercial fishing and recreational fishing was born. So it wasn't until the late 80s, early 90s that there was really a recreational sector of fishermen. So for people to say it's the commercial fishermen's fault, they're the ones who started this. They're the ones who founded this, who really got the whole thing going. So very, very, very hard to blame anybody. Other than
I know that you've
just
done
more people.
So much more research than that. So
yeah, what's your opinion?
I kind of shut up about that because you've done so much research that I just my opinion. I mean,
I've seen. I
just wish they would do it differently. I wish like red snappers would be open for 180 days and you could take one instead of because I'm seeing all these big snapper that are coming in right now. Mm-hmm. This is what I'm noticing is that when we're filleting those open, they're loaded with eggs.
Well, red snapper is one of those weird species that we fish for during the spawn. But red snapper are called batch spawners, so they can spawn all year round, and so they get into concentration spawning aggregations.
I was
and
wondering
they can batch
about
spawn.
that. But I wasn't going to.
And there's also an argument about spawning closures in general. Do spawning closures help, or do they do nothing? Because it doesn't matter if you take the fish out before the spawn, during the spawn, or after the spawn. A fish removed is a fish removed.
Yeah, but if they have lay those eggs one last time before they're...
Yeah, but it's an interesting practice and thought theory, and a lot of people have argued about that and thought about that heavily, and I'm not explaining it really well. A fisheries scientist was trying to explain it to me one day, and it made my head hurt a little bit, but a fish removed is a fish removed.
I don't want that.
Yeah, it's very strange how it works.
I don't want my head to hurt.
But I think there's a big difference in the way the recreational fishery and the commercial fishery is managed. Private recreational fishermen, we don't know how many there are. We don't know how many trips they take. We don't know what's landed. A lot of surveys and estimations are used, and that creates a lot of problems and frustrations. And then people are angry at commercial fishermen, and there is no estimations. There is no surveys because it's 100% accountable and 100% accounted for. So, yes, they're managed differently, but would you want to strap a GPS device on your boat and tell the feds before you moved your boat? Every time you moved your boat, you have to tell the feds. And then before you come inshore, you have to wait 3 hours and tell them, hey, I'm coming in at this dock, and you have to allow the feds to come to that dock. So let's say you're landing at your private home. You have to tell the feds, hey, I'm going to this dock at this location, and yes, you can come in. So that you have to put your dog away. You have to make sure that a federal agent can walk into your backyard unimpeded. So no locked gates, no dogs, no nothing like that. So it's an interesting ball game. So people, I don't know if they really are ready for the accountability.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's a question. It's a good question. Let's see. Let's give away another trip. We did the 10-hour, the swag pack. The 5-hour half day is next. So let's see who won the 5-hour half day fishing trip, and then we'll answer a few more questions here.
Is it one person or is it two people?
Two people. 5-hour half day for two people. One person wins, but they can take a person with them. Does that make sense?
I think we should do a double 10.
See, this is the problem. 5-hour half day for two guests. Let's see who the lucky winner is. Sarah Friedman. Congratulations. That's ironic. She was at John's Pass today. Congratulations, Sarah. You got 5 minutes to text us your full home address and claim that free 5-hour half-day trip for two guests. Let's see here. Got to write it down because we forgot, remember?
Yeah, I remember you forgetting.
Yeah, well, I didn't forget this time.
Don't bring me down to your level. I'm way better now. I already took notes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. My bad. All right, so let's see. Next question. What am I clicking on? What is the best path for a young person to take to become a for-hire captain? Do you recommend any captain schools? So the best captain school that I would recommend is C School. That's what I used and what I recommend.
That's what pretty much everyone I know has used that.
There's a bunch of them online. There's a few of them that you can take. I think there's 2 of them in our area besides C School, but everybody at Hubbard's Marina uses C School. It's the most convenient and what we have the closest relationship for.
Yeah, so I guess the background for what you need for that is 360 days on the water to become a for hire for a smaller boat, like a 6-pack vessel, where you just take 6 people, no more. That would require you to have a 6-pack captain's license, and you need 360 days on the water on a registered vessel. And that could mean a 16-foot Carolina skiff, whatever that may be. You get your sea time on that, and then you go through the schooling, and then you pay the money, and that's pretty much it for a 6-pack license. About it, right?
A 6-pack license, that means you can take 6 or less people on an uninspected vessel, an OUPV license, an operator of an uninspected passenger vessel. You also need to enroll in a random drug testing consortium and remain a member of a random drug testing consortium. You have to pass a physical, pretty labor-intensive DOT physical, and then you also have to pass a federal background check and put your biometrics on record with the FBI, which is pretty intensive. And then you have to make sure you have business insurance if you're going to be operating a vessel that is not already insured. So make sure you have business insurance, make sure you're a part of a consortium, make sure you're aware that you have to do all the other background check stuff, because that does all have to check out.
And then if you want to go for like a larger license for something that, like if you wanted to say work for Hubbard's Marina, we require a minimum 100-ton.
To operate most of our vessels, you need a minimum of 100 tons. The hub, you can get away with a little smaller, but you need a 100-ton license, which generally means you have to work as a crew member on one of those boats for 2 years.
So, instead of having 360 days, you're going to need 720 days. 360 of it can come on that little small Carolina skiff, and then 360 of it would have to be on a larger vessel. It's, I believe, like over 36 tons or something like that to get your 100-ton.
I don't know about the tonnage, but you got the days right.
Okay.
I'm impressed.
Perfect.
Yeah, 360, 720,
and then you go
right.
to, instead of the school being a week, it's more like 10 days. And it's a little bit more involved. They teach you a few more things. You have to learn how to use charting and set and drift and that kind of stuff. The stuff that you'll never ever use again. I had fun with it when I was out working out in the oil field. And this is another place that you would need that 100-ton license or bigger, is out in the oil field. And I actually had fun charting and plotting because there's nothing to do out there. It's you bring a video game system. Even if you don't play video games, you will end up playing video games. And you hope that you get on a boat with smart enough people to play chess or Scrabble or things like
Poker.
that. But it was a lot of fun out there. Some of the boats let you fish. Actually, none of them let you fish. But, whatever. It's good fishing.
Better to ask forgiveness than permission.
I've heard that it's pretty good fishing out there.
From a friend.
From a friend his uncle told him, and something like that. But
so the next question is, how shallow have you found red snappers? I would say you were probably the one catching them the shallowest.
Yeah, I have seen them caught on a half day before on a drift. I have seen a 22, 24-inch red snapper come up on a half day. But
the Veterans Reef is as shallow as I've caught them.
The closest I've caught them this year, I would have to say 85 feet, but not in any numbers. Maybe one here, one there. Getting to 100 feet, I have caught multiple ones, 5 or 6 of them at a few spots at 100 foot. And I did find one last week that I'm probably going to be hitting up pretty quick here. We sent down a video camera. Dylan provided us with this really awesome camera. It's 360 degrees. You can drop it down, and the camera is constantly shooting 360 degrees. So when you bring it back up and you connect wirelessly to your phone, you can watch the video on your phone, swipe it all the way around 360 degrees. These cameras are awesome.
Pretty awesome.
So we dropped one down. We've only done it a few times, and we dropped one on this new ledge I found, and it was just loaded with red snappers, mangrove snappers, and jacks in 100 feet of water. Couldn't believe it. And you know what we caught there? Nothing. First time there, and there's no way somebody had. This is a little bitty spot, and I don't know what it was, but I was like, I know there's fish on this thing. I could see them stacked. I said, I got to at least see the video to see if this is just a bunch of stacked bait fish or stacked for millions or something. And we sent it down there. There wasn't anything but the
red
snappers, mangrove snappers, and the jacks. And then the whole ledge was just lined with lionfish. So it's a really cool video. You should see it sometime.
I wish we could upload that to our YouTube. We will soon.
Yeah, we will soon. We'll get it
next week, just like that triggerfish photo.
Yes.
So another question was, let's also think about all the red tide and oil spills that claim thousands of pounds of oceanic life. So the oil spill that happened in the Gulf, the BP oil spill, didn't really have a reef fish kill off of central West Florida. Our area, the West Florida shelf was really protected. The oil spill, the BP oil spill happened very far away from us in a deep area. So It was already well beyond our shelf, our topographical shelf. And when they put the chemical on the crude oil, it made it sink. So, yes, I think the BP oil spill had very long-standing impacts on the Gulf. But I think it had more to do with the tropic Gulf of Mexico, meaning the bottom around that area where the BP oil spill occurred. So I think a lot of the deep water corals, a lot of that stuff we don't know a lot about. The Gulf is a pretty deep place.
It was over 5,500 feet. I was there doing the actual spill cleanup. I was already working out in the Gulf when it happened. And, I'll tell you.
Frank was there when it spilled.
Yeah, I may have done it.
Just kidding.
Yeah, just kidding. Sorry. We were there during the cleanup, right where all the oil was coming up, and there was 160 boats there plus. I don't know exactly how many, but it was over 160 all the time. Sometimes there's more. We were dragging a boom behind two boats, and you saw lots of boats were doing that. And at the end of the day, we were all looking for more oil to scoop up. This is what the media didn't show you. And this is just coming real life. This is not hearsay. This is me being there. We scooped up all the oil. At the end of the day, we were all on the radio. Does anybody see any more oil? And then maybe one or two boats say, hey, there's some over here in this sector. So a few boats that were in that area, they'd go scoop up that oil. And we just wouldn't see any because there were so many boats scooping up all that oil. Mm-hmm. And then, we'd have to shut down because you can't do it at night. You can't see anything at night. So the next morning you wake up, there's oil everywhere. And all these boats are going and scooping all this stuff up. And they took, all the media took was the shots in the morning of the oil everywhere. And believe it or not, we sucked up a lot of oil. There was lots and lots of oil. Yeah. And that is it's natural oil. It's not oil that's been refined. So there is a big difference in that too. And there are organisms in Mother Nature that eat that stuff. Yeah. But so that was my take on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. And then they sprayed a bunch of chemical on it too to make some of it sink, which I think had a little bit of a long-standing effect. There's some questions on whether or not that's affected. Like the dolphin population, the mahi-mahi population has been depressed. The cobia population has been depressed. The kingfish population has been depressed. All coastal migratory pelagics that are a little bit more interactive with that deeper water. So there's some questions there, but it definitely didn't affect our reef fish, our grouper snapper species off of Central West Florida. We never saw anything like that.
We're seeing more red snappers now, and they are catching the heck out of them up there as well.
As far as red tide goes, red tide definitely killed some organisms and some reef fish, but it is very episodic and very concentrated in certain areas. Most of the time it's not offshore. So most of the time you're not seeing red tide kill a bunch of our, like, say, red snapper. Almost never affected by red
almost
tide.
Never.
Species that get affected by red tide would be like mangrove snapper because they grow up in the estuary. So when a red tide gets into Tampa Bay and kills all the fish in Tampa Bay, it's killing all of next year and the year after is mangrove snapper because they're growing up in the estuary. Same with gag grouper, grow up in the estuary. Red grouper, more near coastal and grow up in shallower waters. So groupers, snapper, or mangrove snapper specifically, maybe some lane snapper too, a little bit more affected by red tide. But again, it's very episodic and very concentrated. So we might have a bad red tide event, but maybe it's only down in Charlotte Harbor and it doesn't really spread up the coast as much.
Right. Yeah.
So
and we really don't. I mean, I know the last bad one we had, the real bad
27-18.
Yeah. We had to go out to about 15 miles, but it was a funny thing, and this may be true, may not be true. It may have just been something that I conjured up. I don't know.
2015 was the only red tide in my lifetime that occurred deep water.
Yeah. Well, when you got to that edge of that red tide, if you fished a quarter mile in of it, you were smoking the fish.
They're concentrated
because I believe that a lot of the fish just slowly push out.
So
and they don't just die. Not every fish dies in that.
It moves. It shifts fish, and fish with a higher sight fidelity tend to die quicker from a red tide. So sight fidelity means they like this rock and they stay at this rock. Gag grouper have a higher sight fidelity, so bad water starts to come in. He's less likely to get up and move. Whereas other species that tend to migrate more or tend to shift more, like mangrove snapper, they tend to move out of the estuary offshore naturally. So if the water starts getting bad slowly, a lot of times you'll see fish shift. Like when a red tide creeps up the coastline really slowly, we see fish get pushed towards us. And fishing gets really, really, really good, and then it gets bad.
Unless you're a pinfish or a mullet that just swims to the light. Swim to the light.
Yeah. Pinfish and mullet get screwed in red tides.
Yeah, they definitely, that's most of your stench.
Yeah.
Is
Pinfish. Pinfish and mullet are the first ones for sure. The little eels are the first ones for sure.
Oh, yeah. You do see a lot of those eels.
Let's see. What other questions do we have? Which boat is used for the extreme trip? The 12-hour extreme trip is on the Flying Hub 2. What is a good tide app? It seems like I'm never right. Well, offshore, the tide apps don't work, right? It only works when you're fishing certain passes or bridges or tidal buoy locations. I recommend Smart Fishing Tides. That is my favorite on Salt Strong. It's bad to the bone. For a first-time fisherman, what trip do you suggest? I'll let you take that one.
Well, I guess first, well, I'll take it as it says, a first-time fisherman. You've never picked up a rod before. I would absolutely suggest a half-day trip. We will give you a hands-on training on the way out, how to use the rods and reels. We provide one particular bait that is very handy for catching the main targeted species, which is the gray snappers. And if we catch 200 fish on a half-day, 190 of them are the gray snappers, and you can just start with that. And we'll show you how to use the rods and reels. We're going to show you how to not backlash a reel, a conventional reel.
There it is.
And then we're going to give you pointers. I talk a lot when I'm only second to his father, and you have to know Mark Hubbard to know how that's a lot of talking. If I'm close to how much Mark Hubbard talks on the PA, you have to have known and fished with him. He talks more than I do, but not a whole lot. Anyhow, I will walk you through it step by step on how to stand, where to put the butt of the rod, where to hold with your left hand, where to hold with your right hand, everything, start to finish. And even then, if you don't get it, which a lot of people don't. Not a lot, but most people do get it after we come around and have a personal.
Yeah, because I was about to say, after you do it over the PA, they'll come around and kind of
But we still have those
you.
people that backlash. All we have to ask you to do is just tap one of us on the shoulder and say, hey, excuse me, or something. Say, hey, can you give me a hands-on lesson and show me without anybody else, whatever, and we will stop whatever we're doing, and we will show you exactly how to do it. And you will come out of there a pretty good fisherman by the time it's over.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
We are going to try to make sure you leave a better fisherman than you stepped on the boat. We're going to try to make sure you leave with something, some knowledge.
At least a liar. You should be a liar. Yeah. We'll let you hold somebody else's fish if you don't get one.
There you go.
Take a photo.
Guarantee the boat's going to catch fish.
Yeah.
Basically, start small and work your way up slowly. Yeah. Start with a 5-hour half day. Make sure you like it. Make sure you don't have the predisposition to getting seasick. Get your line wet, work out the bugs, get the rust off you, then work up to a 10-hour, then maybe try a 12-hour stream or a 12-hour night, then work up to those longer range trips.
And if you meant that maybe you're just new to fishing out in the Gulf, but you do have fished in the past anywhere else in the country, bring a spinning rod with you. Yeah. We'll hook you up. We'll show you a few little extra tricks, and it'll also keep you from getting those back. If you're good with a spinning reel, bring that with you.
On a 5-hour or 10-hour. Okay. Don't bring a spinning reel on a 12-hour stream or a 39-hour.
Yeah,
don't do that. 5 or 10-hour spinning reels are a good option. Your snook rod, your heavy walleye rod. Yeah. All right, so with that, we are pretty much out of time. Don't forget, again, we got to give away that 39-hour overnight trip for one guest. And then also, don't forget, this coming Friday, July 28th from 6 to 9 p.m. is Final Friday. Live music, pub crawl, free crawfish boil, free beer. Going to be a great time. Join us this Friday, July 28th, 6 to 9 p.m. for Final Friday. August 27th. Don't forget Bass Pro Shops, 2 p.m. We hope to see you out there for that event. And also, this coming Tuesday, August 1st, wait, is that this Tuesday? No, next Tuesday, August 1st, we've got
Amberjack season.
Our Amberjack season opens up. Our triggerfish season opens up. And we're going to be over there at Bartow Ford at 6 to 8 p.m. with the Hall of Famer herself, Lisa Fitzgerald, Captain Mike Anderson, for our Bartow Ford Real Animals Fishing Conversation. That's August 1st, 6 to 8 p.m. And then August 5th, over at Barfly in Safety Harbor for the Real Animals Happy Hour, 4 to 7 p.m. The launch of the Real Animals Catch by Coppertail Brewing at the Barfly Bar in Safety Harbor. That's August 5th. So lots of cool events coming up. Hopefully we'll see you out there. As we talked about tonight, fishing's going really well. Nearshore for some lanes, mangroves, vermilions, maybe some hogfish this week. Tuesday, Thursday, you can fish with this guy, Captain Frank, on our 10-hour all-day. Lots of room, great fishing opportunities, great weather. It's going to be hot, though, so stay hydrated.
Yeah, but I'm liking it.
Looking good. So hopefully we'll see you out there on the water. And let's see who won our 39-hour fishing trip.
The 39-hour half day?
Yeah, 39-hour half day for one. All right, so let's see who won that 39-hour trip. Lucky winner is... Oh, and our supporters after show. If you're in our supporters group, our supporters after show is going to start at 8:55. So supporters after show, 8:55. Some more behind-the-scenes info. We'll get to pick Captain Frank's brain a little bit more. So join us, 8:55, for the supporters after show in our private supporters group. Lucky winner of that 39-hour trip is Ryan Held. Congratulations from Tampa, my friend. Appreciate you tuning in and hanging out with us, y'all. Thanks for watching. And don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Come find out why we're the #1 fishing charter in the country. That's right. #1 fishing charter in the country. Hubbard's Marina.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Come see us out on the water. Y'all have a good night.